the RedNeX gaming community. I'm here in the box today with our distinguished guest, Snakeskin from the Destroy, Survive, and Rebuild community. I'll tell you what, if the American Revolution were a video game, we would still be a colony, mostly due to the efforts of this individual, because he's just that good at what he does. Today we're going to be discussing some of the changes that are coming to the division in its new update, and we're looking at the summary of a live stream that was posted on Reddit by an individual named Wow Alcoholic. If I fucked up your name, I apologize. But we'll be looking at some of the stuff that he's posted and some of the things that he's covered, and we'll give you our thoughts and opinions about it. In the background, we will be playing The Division, so if there are any game call-outs go on during the course of this discussion, that's why. So I guess we'll jump right into it. Mr. Snake, if you want to find us a safe house so we can start gathering some intel. And he's
to the crypt.
To the crypt? Okay.
Yep.
Fast travel up there to you. By the looks at it, you know, the overall theme that these developers were going for, according to this guy Frederick Dylander, I guess is how you say his name, who is in charge of weapons and gear sets, and according to this is the self-professed creator and crusher of dreams, is that they're looking at adding bonuses rather than reducing things to achieve balance. You know, and I kind of personally, I like the idea of you giving players more options as opposed to nerfing things. I mean, it's always been my opinion that the fact that developers listen to communities is a double-edged sword. I don't know what your opinion on that is, Snake, but you know, if you look at something like the Battlefield community, when they're always talking about weapons and this is OP and this is underpowered, to me it's always looked like it's been a matter of opinion. And this, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and they don't necessarily smell great. But let's, you know, take the M16 for example. If you're doing the killing with the M16, then everything's perfectly copacetic, and if you're getting killed by the M16, then it's OP. Everybody's on the forums bitching all the time about this, and you know, maybe you should stop and consider that if you're getting killed repeatedly, that you should change your tactics instead of bitching about one weapon in particular, because to me, weapons don't make the soldier. You know, it's your brain. That's what determines whether or not you're good at what you do or not. What are your thoughts, Snake?
To each their own, like you said, personal opinion. I mean, you get these members of the community that just cannot handle being killed by a certain weapon and them not being able to use it themselves, so it's what they don't like. Like the same with Battlefield, personally, I like to use the F2000, I know a friend of mine does as well, but you get those members of the community that don't, and because they can't use it to such a good level as others, they'll bitch about it.
And if you get enough of those people complaining about it, that's when you see developers step in and make that unfortunate decision to change the behavior of the F2000. And I think that takes away from the reality aspect in some points, that weapons will not always be balanced. I mean, the idea that some weapon systems are just inherently going to be better than others, that's a fact of life. I mean, if you put a musket up against a modern day weapon in a game, and you'd be faced with the ridiculous notion of, okay, the musket isn't balanced compared to the M16. Well, of course it's not. It's an inferior weapon system. And weapons are tools. And you've got to bring the right tool to the job in order to maximize its effectiveness. And that is based entirely on, or should be based entirely on, the player recognizing the strength of each individual weapon platform in its appropriated role. And if you can't figure that out, then that shouldn't be the developer's problem. That's your problem, you know, as a gamer. So that's just my opinion on it. Now, apparently the PS4 1.3 patch will not be ready for Tuesday, and this does not necessarily mean that it will be delayed until August 2nd, is what he has written here. They're just going to get it out as soon as they can. And I understand that. I mean, what's the point in putting out a patch before it's ready? Take your time, and when you do release the product, make sure that it's the best product that you can have out there. Let's see. The LMG is another thing that they're really working on, wanting to change. And they really, based on what I'm reading here, is they want the LMG to have a increased suppressive quality. And what they're discussing here is giving it approximately 25% more damage to targets that are out of cover. And it's noted here that being in cover, that counts, that if you're shooting from a covered position, that still counts as being in cover. But I mean, I can understand what they're trying to do with that sentiment, not wanting you to be able to stand in front of something that is supposed to be intimidating and be able to go toe-to-toe with it with a submachine gun or any kind of assault rifle and stand a fighting chance. So if they were to add a particular talent to that weapon that's kind of specific to that weapon class, that 25% more damage is dealt to targets that are not in cover. I just wonder if they've ever considered a suppression system like again, in Battlefield. Battlefield is kind of the mainstay gaming experience for RnX, and I think DSR is the same way. So we compare a lot of what we do to Battlefield, but in Battlefield, when you're being shot at, your visibility kind of drops, your accuracy kind of drops, and I wonder if they ever considered adding kind of a suppression style system similar to that, as to affecting your ability to fight back when you're taking direct fire or being hit. I think you mentioned something in a previous discussion, Snake, about which game?
Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Now, it's more closer to the Division being on. It's published by Ubisoft, and it's third person. It was a good game all around. But the one thing that got it for me was the suppression system. It was that kind of suppression system. It did suppress you. It put you behind the cover, and when you were behind that cover, you were behind it. You wouldn't want to get up, get out of it, because you just get lit up. You get shot. You're done. And it's kind of one of those games where you needed your teammate to get you out of that situation. And if they could put that in this game, it'd probably be a lot better. Because you used to be able to see the tracer just coming over your head. Your character was shaking, he was ducking his head down, and even if you were out of cover, I was trying to dodge the rounds, and he was trying to get to cover as fast as he could. And it's It's one thing they should take from Future Soldier if they're going to do any kind of suppression system. That's the one I do. Personally, with it both being third person, it's...
Now that would obviously would add to the intensity of combat. You know, it would make it a more team-based experience, and I'm always for making things more team-based. If you had to rely on your squad members or your fire team members to help you in that kind of situation, I think that would be fun and interesting. And from the realism aspect, is you're not going to stand there and just take rounds like a champ and be able to fight back the same way you would, say, if you were not being shot. So seeing a factor that came into your ability to be effective while taking rounds or being suppressed is an interesting idea that yeah, maybe they should consider. And you mentioned that it was Ubisoft that made Future Soldier?
Yeah, they're the ones that published it, so it's quite a getting close to home in that aspect of it being published by Ubisoft. So it's...
Well, it wouldn't be an idea that would be foreign to them, having done something similar to that in the past. So it, you know, obviously they've given some thought to it before.
Plus, it make encounters with rogues a lot more fun. And, you know, because when you encounter a rogue in the dark zone, you're just standing there shooting at each other until the first one goes down. Whereas if they added some sort of suppression system, then it'd make it... You'd have one person team that's rogue, and one of the rogues could suppress while the others get away, and then vice versa for the people trying to get the rogues. You could pin them down, so then your other teammates can come and try and neutralize them. I think it'd make it a lot more fun to engage and be a rogue if they had some form of suppression system like Future Soldier. Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that
whole new intake on being a rogue.
Or even, you know, engaging rogues.
Yeah.
Now, you know, of course not all weapon systems should suppress the same way. I mean, they obviously are wanting the LMG to be more intimidating, so then increase the rate in which the LMG suppresses in that capacity. And that could be another way that they could accomplish that goal. I mean, obviously you shouldn't be able to do as much suppression with a handgun, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect a 9mm an officer of 9 to have the same suppression as an M60.
It's important to realize that, you know, the M60, for example, that's a 30 caliber light machine gun chambered in 7.62 by 5.1. That is the exact same round that the U.S. military has adopted as its standard sniper round. It is a big, loud, ballistically intimidating concept. So, you know, I could see them wanting to add more fear factor to that. And yeah, maybe that suppression system in that capacity would be just another way that they could add to that. And another thing that they talked about in these notes is that shotguns are going to receive a buff. I don't know how many times I've heard this in the course of conversation, is that I wish that our shotguns were as intimidating as the NPC's shotguns. I mean, those, especially the higher level NPCs, the elites, the 33s, the 34s, those are devastating, you know, as evidenced by the first incursion. When those shotgunners would come down and rush you, it would cause panic amongst the fire team. Shotgunners, holy shit, because they would put you down and lay a hurt on you pretty quick. And then when a player would pick up a shotgun, you know, even one dealing something close to the 80k damage range, just wouldn't seem to have that same stopping power that the NPCs would have. So they're looking at adding a staggering feature in PvP. And they're also going to get a 30% buff to damage for shotguns over the level 33. I don't know, what are your feelings on that in terms of shotguns being kind of underused because of their ineffectiveness from the player perspective?
Yeah, I agree. I used the low gear and even with that extra 1,000 damage, they don't really do much with that. The 870 being that highest damage per round that I've seen. Shooting at 90k, maybe even 100. It's against the level, even the level 32s, taking maybe one armor, two bars of armor off them, and that's it. That's in one hit. And when you get a level 32 shotgun that comes up at you, nearly all your health's gone.
Oh yeah, they can one hit you in some instances. Even particularly tanky people are.
Feels like you use a shotgun against the shotgun. You know, if they get that close to you, it'd be a good thing to switch to. It's just that. So I'm feeling maybe this showstopper or AA-12 that they have, you know, just a full auto effect would do something. But
I'm glad you brought that up, the showstopper. The AA-12 fully automatic shotgun we're expected to see brought to the game here as it develops. I mean, they want to talk about a weapon that suppresses people. I mean, the idea of a fully automatic shotgun, I mean, they ought to consider giving that a major suppressing effect as well. Even if it's not dealing a significant amount of damage compared to the pump action or the semi-automatic shotguns due to that automatic rate of fire for balancing purposes. But just to see people having a reason to fear an automatic shotgun for reasons other than overwhelming damage would be interesting. I know you're looking forward to that showstopper personally.
Yeah, it's something I've been looking for, is the full auto shotgun, because even the semi-auto Sega, it doesn't really have much effect on anything. The shotguns are just so underpowered, even though they have a high damage per round.
It doesn't seem to reflect that in the actual gameplay.
Yeah. I will tell you something though, Rebel, I am lost.
You're lost? Yeah, okay. Where are we trying to... Yeah, I think it's below us. We need to look for a subterranean entrance here. More than likely. Find a subway entrance. And while you're doing that, let me go ahead and pull this up and see what our next discussion point is. Okay, assault rifles. Armor destruction penetration against NPCs. See, they've tried to work on this for PvP, but have not found a solution, as they're not really happy with what they've got, and they're still looking into this into the future. Assault rifles. Okay, so what it appears to me is that they want assault rifles. They want that whole thing to be armor destruction. And I think this isn't the first time that we've had an instant where the effects that the gear sets give you and the certain talents that weapons have don't particularly apply to... oh, I found it, Snake. It's over here. It's in this building. We got to go downstairs over here. They don't apply to other players. They just apply to NPCs. And I think a lot of people look at what their talents are and expect themselves to be a lot more effective against other players than they really are. And that's kind of misleading. I don't see why, if you have a weapon that is destructive to armor, why that shouldn't apply to PvP just as much as it applies to PvE. You have any feelings on that?
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of PvE that's like things that are PvE only. I believe the Striker gear was the same. The last effect wasn't used in PvP.
That was Jer's opinion when he did the Striker set, is that he felt that it was great for player versus environment, especially those heavier bosses that kind of sit still long enough to give him an opportunity to stack that. But when playing against rogues that won't sit still worth a damn, it was kind of hard to make that work. But I was talking more along the lines of, say you've got a weapon that does 13% armor destruction, but that doesn't have that same effect against other players. I mean, I don't see why not, especially as they've added the toughness factor on your display as opposed to health, which actually gives you a number that I think is a better indicator of your damage resistance overall, because it takes that armor number. They've increased the max armor from 65% damage mitigation to 75% damage mitigation. And I think that's interesting because they've made statements that they don't like that whole meta based around being real tanky. They don't really want that to be your only option, but what they've done is made players more tanky by increasing their armor. So if you want to kind of see that tanky aspect being kind of taken out of the limelight, then allowing that trait that does armor destruction to affect players as well as NPCs sounds like a good way to do that. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I believe by the way, they kind of just need to think of a good way for armor penetration to be effective on their weapons, because they just, especially with the rogues and the whole movement, and you see them rolling around all the time, you put a couple of hits and you have to hope they're squishy.
Right.
If they're not, then the armor penetration, it doesn't help at all.
They've got special ammo out there, right? You know, they've got incendiary bullets and explosive rounds. Why don't they make a new type of special ammo then that is, I don't know, armor piercing?
I think the Future Soldier had the same thing. They had armor piercing, and then they had the incendiary rounds, and the exacto rounds, which locked on to people. I don't think that's not really a good idea to ever think about adding those, unless it is going to be for snipers. But armor piercing rounds is a collectible, assumable they need to think about adding. Especially with this new gear set that's coming out, which is focusing on consumables. You could add that.
You know, I saw that link that you put up there about the guys that are playing in E3 talking about the new gear sets. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
See, I'm undecided on the new one. I do like the consumable one, but
The whole...
as well with the riot shield or whatever, was just have an SMG. Personally, I wouldn't put an SMG. I'd have your sidearm has extra damage, maybe extra rate of fire, higher mag. It buffs your sidearm a lot instead of adding an SMG.
Well, they did talk about the idea that the SMG may not stick around with that gear set, and yeah, that is a discussion we had. Is to alternatively they could just buff the sidearm when using the riot shield, because the riot shield, as of right now, I don't really see it being used a lot in the dark zone or PvP or even in PvE. I don't know. Is there a melee function associated with the riot shield? Can you get right up close to somebody and just knock the shit out of them with it? Is that a thing?
I believe you can. I'm not too sure.
Well, if they don't, if that's not a thing...
Yeah, you can.
Now, is that effective? Does that actually work against other players and NPCs? Because even if you increased the riot shield's ability to do damage by getting close to them and hitting them with it, I mean, is that no different than hitting them with your weapon? Just doing a weapon melee? Or because personally, I think if someone's going to use that, you might as well give them the ability to knock the shit out of people with it.
Yeah. If you hit someone, it staggers them or whatnot. It makes them ineffective for a couple seconds. But I've used it a couple of times in the dark zone, especially when people get into those little cubby holes. The only way to get up there is the ladder. As soon as you get to the top of the ladder, I used to pop my shield. A lot of people focus on the shield, but
I know that was a technique that a member of our community, Chan, used a lot. Chan he's our tactician, and because of the rock paper scissors kind of gameplay style that the Division encourages, he didn't have a lot of armor and he didn't have a lot of damage in terms of his weapons, and he'd really kind of have to wait for that sticky bomb or that shock turret to regenerate before he could be effective in the damage capacity against rogues. So he would use that riot shield to improve his chances of survivability. And maybe if they, I don't know, possibly had different kinds of riot shields, that if you're a skill build, encouraging the use of the riot shield somehow by adding skill power. I don't know, there's just so many options that they have. And that's why I like the idea that they're not looking to take things away to create balance, they're looking to add things, because that's going to make generally underused items more interesting and more likely to be used because of the way that they can suddenly become more relevant, as opposed to wanting to do something like take damage away from something. So let me take a gander at what we've got next. Okay, they did something with SMGs. Switching the rolled critical hit chance bonus to critical hit damage is kind of a buff if you reach the crit hit chance cap. The base buff changes will only affect newly rolled, dropped, or crafted weapons after the patch, and they will not magically appear on existing weapons for technical purposes. And they also looked at the popularity of various SMGs. The Vector, the Chris Vector, and the Star AUG families' base damage is being reduced by about 10%, and this will affect all existing weapons, as they apparently were the highest base damage around all weapons, even among the SMGs. Okay, I don't think that's a good reason to nerf something just because it's popular. That goes against exactly what they were trying to say, that they wanted to add things and not take away from things. Just because the Chris Vector weapon platform and the Steyr AUG submachine gun platform is popular, they're wanting to nerf it. Yeah, you see it a lot. And maybe you see it a lot because it's a superior weapon system. You know, the fast rate of fire and the magazine capacity, you know, especially with the Steyr AUG. Why do I like the Steyr? Because with an extended mag, I can get up to 50 rounds per magazine. I mean, that's why I like it. You know, if its damage is higher, then obviously people are going to use it. I mean, it comes to a point where you're not going to truly balance anything unless every weapon literally is exactly the same as every other weapon. And how boring would that be? But to state a reason for a nerf is simply because it's too popular and you're tired of seeing it. I mean, this whole game is based on this open-ended decision-making platform where you get to choose which you like best. Now, are they really giving us that freedom, or are they giving us an illusion of that freedom? By the moment we decide that we like something and we make that decision to use it, that they turn around and nerf it, trying to encourage you to do something different simply because they're seeing it too often. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
They've kind of made it to where you need, or to where the majority of the community uses the AUG, the Vector, and then they'll use the M1A. And that kind of, an M1A and an AUG, or M1A and a Vector, it's kind of a loadout the majority of people will use now, just for the fact that it's the most effective when it comes to taking down enemies. But what I would do, if they're thinking about, instead of nerfing those popular SMGs, just add new ones in. So sick of it. They've got so many different weapons that you only can get, which are blues, greens, purples, and whatnot, like the 416 or the MP7. The only times you can get them gold is at 163. So really, they should just get all those old weapons they had and bring them up to 204 and maybe add some new ones like P90, UMP45 or whatnot.
Yeah,
they should add new things just so then it gives people a variation instead of having just those two SMGs. Like I know they go like a PP19 Bison they had in one of the videos I watched on YouTube, but it seems like the only reason why they're popular is because the SMGs are one of the best types of weapons in the game. They only have two, so it's not a surprise that they're seeing them everywhere.
I mean, even as a sniper, you know, in this game, where I have most of my gear spec towards increased damage for marksman rifles, I can't deny the need for an SMG as kind of a personal defense weapon system, because the strategy in dealing with snipers is to close the gap and eliminate that advantage that they have from dealing damage accurately at distance. And rogues will try to close the distance on me all the time, whereas with a marksman rifle, be it bolt action or semi-automatic, yeah, I'm dealing a significant amount of damage with that weapon alone, on top of the fact that everything that I have is rolled towards increasing its effectiveness, but I still need an SMG to say, get the fuck away from me. So yeah, of course it's a strategy that people are adapting. It's necessary for your sense of survival to be adaptable to different situations. So yeah, I mean, of course that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, surprisingly, if they're thinking about, the Vector and the AUG, I'd like the M1A. A lot of people do. But I'm surprised they're not doing the same thing with that.
Incoming hostiles.
Well, what they are doing with the M1A is that they are increasing what they refer to as the bloom on the reticule for when it's being fired at a higher rate of fire, making it less accurate, sustainably at high rates of fire, as opposed to slower, more precise, intentional shots. You know, to me that kind of makes sense, because the M1A was never intended to be used as an assault rifle, and I'm guilty of that. The historian that I'm using now, SOCOM in my M1A, my first wave M1A, I used it with low ocular, headshot damage increased perks, and used it probably as a battle rifle more than a marksman rifle. So it makes sense that they're kind of making it less accurate for sustained fire. That I don't have an issue with. But you're saying that you think that the reason that it's getting special attention is because it's the one that you're seeing more often than the others?
Yeah, well, the others you have is the so you've got the M44, which is the bolt action.
Yeah.
Then there's the Mark 20 SSR. Looks like the Star there. Marksman rifle. That does half the damage than an M18 per round.
Right.
And yeah, it has maybe a higher magazine, and that's only by a couple of rounds. Such a weapon which they should really be concentrating on now, and if not just adding more weapon rifles.
Well, they are adding the Dragunov line to marksman rifles with the new DLC, the Underground DLC, in which they're giving that line a particular trait called Decisive, where after a kill, you have a 100% chance of getting a critical hit for your next shot. So maybe because they're putting so much emphasis on this new Dragunov, personally I think Dragunovs are just Russian pieces of shit, but the video game world has never really cared about accuracy or truth behind it.
This area is safe.
You know, but whatever. So they will be adding new things, but do you think that maybe with them adding the Dragunov and making it kind of unique, that we will be expecting a nerf to that coming shortly after it's launched, after it's kind of reached popularity with the community?
Yeah, I believe it will. It's constantly going after the weapons that are popular. Surely it'll get nerfed, even if it is a great weapon. People only end up using it because it's different to what they've got. It's one of the reasons why the community is going to be like, oh, I'm going to get this Dragunov. It's not an M1A, it's something new. I can experience something new, and then you never know, it might be great. Then it'll get nerfed, and then if people don't like it, they'll go back to the M1A.
Right. So if they're going to
have much
many options,
options to do. There's not many people who use the M44 because it's a bolt action. It has the highest damage levels of all per round. But even with an extended mag on there, it's not going to do much effect when it comes to rogues or whatnot when they're running and ducking into you and shooting you all up with an SMG. It's not really a weapon I'd use, the M44. I just prefer to...
I'm going to jump up here to Autumn's Hope safe house.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if they're gonna say that they want to add things instead of nerf things, that they should actually stick to that and just give us more options that are equally as useful, as opposed to taking the ones that are already popular and nerfing them. Yeah, I agree.
That's what I do.
Okay, well, next on the discussion here is the gear sets, and they're aware of the tank-tician meta, and they're going to be keeping an eye on it, and they want you to be tanky. They don't want that to be your only choice. They want you to be a little glass cannon with a little support mixed in there, whatever the fuck glass cannon means. I think you were discussing that as possibly meaning that they want you to be less overwhelming firepower, a little more finesse when it comes to the tactician. And then, in terms of gear sets, is that the Sentry's Call and the Striker gear set bonuses have been changed. And they've known for some time that the go-to combination is to use a 2 or 3-piece combination of these gear sets, and they think, quote, too popular in the game And they want to take some of the power from the 2 and 3 piece set bonuses and move them to a new 5 piece set bonus. Where the 2 and 3 piece bonuses are viable, but we put some numbers, shift them around so in order to get them, that they want to do a 5 piece set bonus. So on the whole, the set's bonus retains its power, but it's open up to new possibilities for other combinations. They said they didn't really want to take that lightly. You know what, to me, Snake, personally, that sounds like more of the same bullshit. It's too popular, so let's change it.
You are now leaving the safe area.
You know, personally, with the new gear sets that came out, you know, Lone Star, Predator's Mark, they were disappointing in terms of what they offered. So no shit, people aren't using them and people aren't adding that into their inventory and working that in. If you want to see other options being added to people's use of the gear sets, then give us some gear sets that have some bonuses that are actually worth a shit. You know, I think that's just more of the same in terms of what we discussed with the weapons. If they want people to pick their weapons based on their gear sets and they want gear to be an important part of your decisions, then give us something to work with. Don't change the shit that you've already got. You've set the bar pretty high by making 2 amazing gear sets in Sentry's Call and Striker gear. Just give us some gear sets that can compete with that. I mean, what would you like to see a gear set do? I mean, what talents do you think would be cool for a gear set bonus in the future?
I think the new ones they have are this consumable one I do like.
Are you talking about the blind system, the one that drops a flashbang every time you get a kill?
Yeah, like that one. They have these new gear sets that are focusing around just maybe consumables or can flash your grenades and whatnot. I think they should have one for suppression, honestly. This gear set, when you get to the high level, increases the suppression rate you give. Depending
right.
on, so for LNGs, they double or triple your suppression effect.
You know what I always thought would be interesting?
The suppression they have coming in the update anyways.
What I always thought would be interesting is what if there was a gear set that was designed to be an answer to an already existing gear set. Like you do additional damage or can block the effects of certain gear sets by wearing this gear set. So by wearing this gear set set bonus makes, if you get marked by Sentry's Call, reduces the damage that you take by being marked by 5%. So a sentry who marks you usually for 15% additional damage now only marks you for 10. Yeah, that's more defensive, but I mean that would be a gear set created to defeat Sentry's Call or make it less effective. Yeah, you're running the gamble that maybe the guy that you're going rogue up against isn't running Sentry's Call, but gear sets that defeat other gear sets to work in terms of that rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. Yeah, scissors cuts paper. They get smashed by rock, but paper covers rock. That whole there's a weakness and a strength against certain. I think that would make that an interesting dynamic they should possibly entertain.
They had an opportunity with the when they did the blind system gear set, and then they had the blind sniper rifle.
The battle rifle, the blind battle rifle that they want to add to that gear set?
But they should have made that mid, and I believe what they could have done is, if you're using this weapon when you have 4 pieces of this gear, you unlock a talent which is focused for the weapon.
You know,
so
but
you'll have the 5 gear.
it looks like they're kind of wanting to do that by introducing that blind battle rifle to be used in conjunction with the blind gear set. But you know what, I can foresee this being a problem is that they're going to get upset that everybody that's using the blind gear set is now using the blind battle rifle, and that's all you're going to see. And as they've noted, they don't like it when things get popular. And if the blind battle rifle gets too popular because of its use in the blind system, what are they going to do about that? Are they going to nerf it?
What they do good is have a weapon for each of the gear sets. I mean, the Predator Marks you was focused on the assault rifle, the extra the damage on the assault rifles. They could have, I don't know, M16 Predator, so that's they had like a whole new weapon in there. Same with the Sentry's Call. They could have a new weapon which is focused on Sentry's Call, and if you use it, it unlocks this new talent for your weapon.
Right. But you can see how people with those gear sets are going to favor those weapons because they get that added benefit for using them, making those weapons more popular than the standard 204 gold pickups you might get. And like I said, since they don't seem to like things getting popular, what are they going to do when they realize the only things being used are the weapons that complement the gear sets, and all the other weapons are just kind of filler weapons until you can manage to get that drop.
They could make it to where that, I don't know, like that weapon is not really effective until you have all those pieces of gear. Or they could do it another way and have a just like straight with shit. Yeah, probably see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
You have to where the weapon is effective when you have all that.
But not until. So you have to get the complete blind gear set.
They make it. And I've been thinking about this is these daily missions that you have now. You can do challenging level 32. Yeah, wow, easy to go through now. They could add let's say, an extreme difficulty where you're against the level 34s instead, and you'll get more rewards from that. And the possibility of maybe getting this new weapon. They could make it hard for you to get it, but when you do get it, it's rewarded. I guess. There's a couple of things they could do.
Kind of make it an incursion only kind of situation where you really have to get in there and earn that.
Yeah.
And that's gonna create a huge gap between those players that are able to put that challenging incursion on farm status versus those players that maybe don't have the time to do that. Now, personally, if you put in the effort and you get to that point, you're good enough that you can farm the challenging incursion, more power to you. You've earned it, buddy. Now get out there and wreck shit with the payoff that you've earned by putting forth that effort. But I don't think that other people are going to see it that way. I think they'll say that, you know, these players are the top 1%, and they're going to maintain that top 1% in the dark zone by overpowering everybody. But hey, you know, you should be able to feel a tangible benefit and be rewarded for putting out that hard. Personally, in my opinion, I think if you work for it, then you should be able to enjoy a gap between those that have and those that haven't put forth the effort. And You know, Destiny with the Mythicast, when the first Destiny raid came out against Atheon, those people that were lucky enough to receive the Mythicast as a drop were dominating in the Crucible with the Mythicast. And my opinion on it is, well, fuck, they deserve it. I mean, they put forth a lot of effort to get in there and earn that as a drop. Why don't they get to enjoy that advantage? But, you know, the community being the community, they bitched and moaned, and then the Mythicast received a major nerf. I mean, what's the point in putting forth the effort in a raid if you're not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor? That's always been my opinion.
See, these developers nowadays, firstly, I see some of them not having the backbone and standing up for themselves and saying, no, this is our game. I get you're the community, but if you're all gonna whine about this one weapon that people have done so much to earn, then maybe you should go earn it yourselves. If not, stop playing the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Do something else. The only reason why certain persons have that weapon is at that point in time. And yeah, people don't. And I guess the people who don't have time shouldn't really care. Because they don't have time. Why would you care something you don't have time? In the sense of gaming.
That was Bungie's biggest mistake, I think, in terms of Destiny, was trying to even the playing field for those that really took it seriously as gamers and those that didn't. Yes, I understand. We all have lives. We all have significant others. We all have jobs. We all have real life to contend with. But if other people have more time than you to take something more seriously than you, then, you know, more power to that person who's managed to get his schedule in a capacity that he can do this. We shouldn't hate on that person because of it. I mean, we should say, all right, you've put more time and effort into it, therefore you're further along than I am. That should be only obvious, but apparently in society today that isn't obvious, and that's a shame.
You get these community members now that are just gimme, I don't want to work for it. You'll get those people and you'll join up and matchmake, and you'll always have that one person in your squad that just wants to stand back and let you do everything. And it's the community members like that ruin the game for others just by saying, oh, I don't like this, change it. And then the developers be the developers and say, okay, we'll do it for you.
That's...
And other people are like, what the fuck?
Personally, people, change your fucking tampon, quit bitching, and suck it the fuck up. You want the reward, put in the effort, but I'm an asshole, so naturally that's going to be my view on it. Now, an interesting comment on the blind battle rifle. It is not coming out in the 1.3 patch. They still are considering it a work in progress, and it's not ready for the live game, but it has been confirmed that it is a Desert Tactical MDR. MDR. Okay, I don't know what that is. All my experience in the military and the Navy, I don't think I've ever heard the term MDR. But
I've seen it in the great game Battlefield Hardline. There's lots of people love.
Well, what is it? What kind of weapon platform is it? I honestly don't know.
It was an assault rifle. It was a 308.
Like okay. I see. It's a like the SCAR, the 308 or 7.62 by 5.1, probably low magazine capacity, high damage, heavy recoil. All right, I guess it's a heavy assault rifle. Roger that. I'm tracking you. We also have some new high-end weapons
for micro dynamic rifle. That's what MDR is.
Okay, that's interesting. Duly noted. Thank you for that information. We've got some new high-end weapon families coming in, like the Showstopper we discussed, the fully automatic shotgun with the drum mag. Let's see, the G36 assault rifle family with 3 different variants is coming into play. It's going to be a uniquely talent-focused bonus damage when skills are off their cooldown. We mentioned the Dragunov or the SVD family marksman rifles coming with the decisive talent. The PP-19 submachine gun family with a drum mag, large capacity SMG with more crit hits. And they want to bring new guns to people, which is good. That's what we talked about earlier. But I think the most interesting thing, probably our last topic for conversation here, is the ability to recalibrate weapon talents with the weapon kit, a lot like you're able to recalibrate gear. You pick one of the 3 slots and re-roll it for a new weapon talent. My opinion, about fucking time. You know, I know you and Finn's particularly, that's my particularly chatty grandfather clock in the background. But I think you and Finn's particularly discussed this as something that they desperately needed to bring into this, is to let you treat weapons the way that you treat gear.
Yeah, but why would you put a recalibration system in for your arm, but then not for your weapons? You know, your gear is your defensive, so then obviously your weapons are your offensive. Why would you just, I don't know, discriminate the weapons that way of not being able to recalibrate them? Because you'll get this one weapon where, or a weapon, for instance, the Centurion, like it's all focused on a support role, you know.
It's a skills build. All its talents are skills build, yeah. Making it useless for assaulters and snipers and everybody else that isn't a tactician's authority build, yeah. I understand.
It's that higher damage per round, so when people get it and they're not a skills build, then they can recalibrate it, or at least one of the skills, to something that fits them. Like it'd be great. Because it'll give people weapons that they couldn't use before because of the could be a build that you weren't. You know,
the only point of contention that I can see is this leading to them wanting to nerf talents that they're going to be seen more often as a result of this option. And we all have talents on our weapons that we consider to be better than others. Brutal, for example, or prepared, 13.5% more weapon damage when closer than 10 meters. Additional headshot damage with brutal. Are people going to roll more towards one talent on their weapons now in order to create what they refer to as a god build on their weapon? Are the developers going to get, are they going to get butthurt once they see everybody rolling the same talents over and over and over?
What they could do maybe is like with the armor, when you recalibrate your armor, not every single slot has health or armor or extra gear mod. You'll get those ones which are like 20% squad heal or first aid heal or whatever. And they could start to split up the talents into 1, 2, and 3. And if you recalibrate number 1, you can only get these ones, and the same for the second one.
So something like, if it's a talent that's skills based and you re-roll that talent, you're only going to get the option to replace it with another skills based talent. Or if it's, go ahead.
Maybe they could change. They'll have an option like for each one. They'll have a skills one for toughness, one for firearms, and they'll have maybe 2 for each of the ones, 1, 2, and 3. And then when you recalibrate, you just gotta hope you get one that fits you.
Hey, they're not people anymore. Funny. You robbing me now?
In a sense. Because I mean, I never recalibrate my armor for first aid, heal, or support station.
Right.
you'll get the same thing for the, I guess, for the weapons, but there's a few things they could do in there, I guess. Having to talent one only has these select few talents that you can recalibrate to, and they're the same for slot 2. You just gotta hope you get the one you want.
Are we lost again?
Oh no, I found the enemy.
Okay. Well, I think we'll end it there. You know, personally, I'm looking forward to the first official DLC drop that wasn't an update. Finally, that season pass is going to start coming into being worth it for the people that were looking at all these free updates and wondering when their season pass will actually start to matter. And now that they can say that that's finally going to be a reality for them.
Warning. Incoming hostiles.
Is that
the season pass at the moment gets monthly rewards, and they're saying you get exclusive events. That'd be nice. Download these DLCs, so you spend that extra money on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are paying to get it cheaper. You know, the buy them all separately, but it seems like when you get season passes, the little stuff they promise you you don't get.
So we'll just have to see what these guys do in terms of how they want to develop this game. And I mean, they've had their fair share of problems. The Division has been something that has been bitched about on YouTube to a unbelievable extent, you know, so Massive has its challenges ahead of it as they're trying to bring this into a more, you know, I hate to use the word balanced, but a more playable game. You know, getting rid of the, you know, like the big issue they had with the cheeses and stuff that were going on with the first incursion. You know, that I don't envy the position they're in terms of what they're having to overcome, but looks like they're putting some effort into it, and we'll just have to see how these things turn out and how the new gear sets matter, and now the new vision that they have actually comes to fruition. But if you like the stream, if you like the fact that we've got interesting and colorful opinions, you know, like and subscribe. Check us out at www.rednexclan.com and check out Snakeskin's community. You know, DSR, they're a big, you know, good group of guys that we play with a lot. What's new on the DSR front there, Snake?
Yeah, we if you check us out, Destroy, Survive, Rebuild, we have a few new reviews. One on Mirror's Edge, new Umbrella Core. There's been a review on that, and that's an interesting game. So check us out if you'd like to join us. DestroySurviveRebuild.com.
All right, guys. Yeah, I saw that the one that DSR member Darkside did a review on that. And there's also some information out there on both of our YouTube channels about the new Star Wars Bespin
Battlefront.
Yeah, DLC. So also some new information on the RedNeX phone application is now available in beta on the Android operating system Play Store. So beta testers who are doing that, you need to go ahead and delete the old install and re-download it from the Play Store there. And we will, you know, we'll bring you our new news feeds. We're starting to launch those again as a community. We'll probably do those every week, usually on Sundays, where we talk about gaming news, community news, and current events. Go ahead and if you watch those and there's a particular current event that you think that you want to hear our opinion on or just want to be part of the discussion, as you're watching those, drop something in the comment section and we will consider discussing it. So until next time, guys, keep calm, RedNeX on, and per unitatum Victoria.